Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
One of the strangest stories to cross my desk got sent to me by a whole bunch of people. And this is from Money Watch. Irina Ivanova wrote it. A Delaware city is set to give corporations the right to vote in elections. A city in Delaware is set to give corporations the right to vote in elections. Now, a lot of people know that corporations have already been given some types of personhood by the U.S. Supreme Court. So if people have got rights, corporations have got many of the same rights. And there's a big debate about whether that was a correct ruling by the Supreme Court, but it happened quite a while ago. And so the question then is, well, if people get to vote, then shouldn't corporations be allowed to vote? And I think most people are going to go, what? Weird. State of Delaware is famously business friendly. That's why so many companies are Delaware corporations. With more than 1.8 million entities registered in that state, companies outnumber people by nearly 2 to 1. So if this were to happen statewide, for instance, the humans could get outvoted by the corporations, overwhelmingly. One city is now moving to raise businesses' influence in the state even further with a proposal to grant them the right to vote. Seaford, a town of about 8,000, amended its charter in April to allow businesses, including LLCs, corporations, trusts, or partnerships, the right to vote in local elections. The law would go into effect once both of Delaware's state legislative bodies approve it. And so here's the real issue. Does anybody understand how easy it is to form a corporation? I've been a corporation before, right? I founded a corporation before, and I think I was the CEO of it, among other things, president maybe, I don't know, it's a while ago. And all you do is you fill out some paperwork, and it's a form. You simply put your name and address, and you pay a fee. Now you're a corporation. And guess what? Take the same form, put a different name at the top, fill out the information again, pay the fee again, now you have another corporation. You can do this all day long. And by the way, some people have. The proposal has rekindled a debate over how much power corporations should have in local government, with fierce opposition from civic interest groups who say businesses already wield too much influence over politics. It's very shocking to see this attempt to have artificial entities have voting rights, says the executive director of Common Cause Delaware, a watchdog group. You know what we only need at this point is for AI to get voting rights. At that point, I think we'll be good. We're seeing voter suppression all over the country, and this is the flip side. It's not saying the residents can't vote. It's diluting their votes by allowing non-residents to vote. Because you understand, I can make a corporation in Delaware. The earlier corporation I did was in Michigan. But if I wanted to, I can open one up in Delaware. It's not that hard to do. Legislators have cast the change as a fix for a low turnout in municipal elections and a way to attract business owners to the community. These are folks that have fully invested in their community with the money, with their time, and with their sweat. We want them to have a voice if they choose to take it, says the mayor, speaking to WRDE. He cast the deciding vote in a split city council decision on the charter amendment back in April, according to news sources. And so his thinking is that corporations are made up of people fully invested in the community, when in fact it's somebody who fully invested in the filing fee for the corporate papers. It's not that much. According to Delaware Online, there are 234 entities, including LLCs, trusts, and corporations, headquartered in Seaford, a significant number for a town where April election only garnered 340 votes. So the businesses and corporations would have 234 votes. Seaford is one of several towns that already allow absentee property owners, those who own a property but do not occupy it, to vote on certain issues like taxes. The proposed charter amendment would expand that further to allow any artificial entity, including but not limited to corporations, partnerships, trusts, and limited liability companies, to vote in all elections. So what other artificial entities are there? Like cyborgs, androids, mutants? What's an artificial entity? If I make it my laboratory, does it count? Under the proposal, corporate entities must register as voters with City Hall and include a list of their beneficial owners. City officials are then intended to cross-check these lists with resident voter rolls to prevent double voting, according to the proposal. However, the woman from the watchdog group noted the legislation only outlaws double voting for human residents, permitting it for out-of-town business owners. If you're a snowbird, you don't get to vote twice, once in Florida and once in Delaware, she said. A handful of other Delaware towns, including Fenwick Island, Henlopen Acres, and Dagsboro, already allow corporations to vote. So this is not brand new. Human residents don't always take kindly to this new idea. In 2019, it was revealed that a single property owner who controlled multiple LLCs voted 31 times in one of these town referendums, and that was an incident that led that town to amend its rules. And residents in another one beat back a proposal to allow LLCs to vote. So it's not winning everywhere. And where it's been done, we do see people who get to vote 31 times. But no. It's not the same guy. See, each LLC is different. It's like, my apartment complex, LLC. My apartment complex, A, LLC. My apartment complex, 3, LLC. Different entities altogether. To become law, the charter amendment must be passed by 2/3 of the state legislature and then signed by the governor. Current session ends June 30th, but restarts next January, when the charter amendment could be considered again. The bill's sponsor did not immediately return a request for comment from CBS Money Watch. The office of the House Speaker declined to comment. He has previously expressed ambivalence about the legislation. Meanwhile, he had said, I don't think it's a good idea, but I don't think I want to vote to stop it. Earlier this year, progressives in Delaware's legislature introduced a bill that would altogether ban corporate voting in local elections. So at the state level, there are some people who want to ban it. Other people go, who cares? But I don't think everyone understands how easy it is to form a corporation in Delaware, or anywhere for that matter. And the other thing, and especially those of you who spend a lot of time watching all the documentaries about recent business history, for instance, Enron. Okay, you've all heard of Enron. Enron was one of the biggest corporate scandals in history. And the corporation wound up going under, and a bunch of people went to jail, and it actually destroyed some other companies, and it was ugly. And one of the things that Enron had been doing for a variety of nefarious reasons is they were creating shell corporations. And so they would create these shell corporations and shuffle things around like debts and obligations and profits. And they were basically cooking their own books because most people would only look at the books of Enron, but not at the books of these smaller sub-corporations and shell corporations that they operated. And all of them, if you saw a flow chart or an org chart of how they were set up, you'd realize it's just a very, very complicated shell game. But they would set up all of these entities for that purpose. But if they did that in Delaware, they'd all get to vote. And I think most people, especially recently, have come to believe that your right to vote is sacred, meaning that I get to vote. And I get to vote, and my one vote, although in the grand scheme of things might not make that much of a difference in an election, they all add up. And I have the right to cast my vote. That's something that's one of the most basic and fundamental rights you've got. And so when they conferred personhood on corporations a long time ago and said, oh, corporations are people too, people thought, okay, that's kind of strange, but okay, well, how could that backfire on us? Well, when they later said that money is speech and corporations have got the rights to free speech because they're people now go, wait a second, huh? And you realize that there's these follow-on effects. And so now the idea that, oh, they get to vote too. But the biggest problem I have is simply how easy it is to form a corporation. You just pay some money, file the paperwork. And so if you were very, very interested in the business of what's going on in Seaford, you could register a bunch of businesses there and start casting your votes. And it depends on what's going on there that might be that important. But guess what? It wouldn't be that difficult to do. And so they're talking about how there are 234 entities right now in Seaford. In the last election, there were only 340 votes cast. I mean, I could go register 350 corporations over there and probably win the next election. It would cost some money, but that's not the point. The point is that why? Why? Because if a corporation is formed there, you say, okay, now it gets to vote. That just is odd. So we'll see what happens, but it could also get completely struck down by the state legislature. So we'll see. Irina Ivanova wrote that. A lot of people sent it to me from Money Watch. A Delaware city is set to give corporations the right to vote in elections. We'll see what happens. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. Relax. Nothing is under control.